this afternoon speaking with John Jakicic as part of ACSM's Distinguished Leaders in Exercise Science and Sports Medicine. So welcome, John.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry I butchered your name. I've been practicing, but
it's okay.
I got close.
It's good enough.
Okay.
Trust me.
So I wanted to start, if you could tell us where you're at currently, your position and your research and that type of thing, and then along with that, what you're doing currently within the ACSM organization.
Great. Okay. So I'm currently at the University of Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm in a department called Health and Physical Activity, which is an outgrowth of an old physical education department. So I'm housed in the School of Education there, but collaborate across the university, and we cut across department and school lines. Yeah. My role there is multifaceted. I'm currently the department chair of Health and Physical Activity at the rank of full professor with tenure. And I also run or direct our Physical Activity and Weight Management Research Center, which is about a 25,000-foot facility that's basically right on the fringe of the university campus, where we do a lot of research around activity and how it relates to weight, how it relates to energy balance, and how it relates to chronic diseases that come out of that. So it's a pretty big enterprise that's mostly funded by NIH funds. And so I've been at the University of Pittsburgh for this go-around since around 2002. And I say that because I actually was there for a short stint in the mid-1990s as well.
We'll get to that as we backtrack,
Sure.
I guess. So.
Yeah, and then my roles within the American College of Sports Medicine, I've been actively involved for many, many years. My current roles are as I'm the chair of the Strategic Health Initiative on Obesity. Mm-hmm. I serve on the American Fitness Index Advisory Group. I serve on the Scientific Leadership Integration Committee. I'm an associate editor for the new translational journal that has just launched within the last 6 months or so. And then I play a number of roles. I've been on the program committee, and this year a big role that I played was I chaired the Energy Balance World Congress. Wow. So that was an exciting time, and we think we did a pretty good job with that.
You've been busy.
They keep me busy, and I'm also I'm the editor. I've been named the editor of a book that will be developed over the next year that will be published with Human Kinetics and ACSM. So
nice.
I'm involved in multi areas of ACSM at this point.
Yes. Well, could you go back then now, and where did you grow up, and high school, and interests in sports, if any, and then where you went to undergrad? And
Sure. So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's pretty neat for me now. Not everybody gets to go home, and I've left Pittsburgh a couple of times and got to go home every time. Which is really great. You get to go and have an impact on the place where you grew up. So I was born in Pittsburgh, actually very close to where I currently live. I graduated from a small high school called Southside Catholic High School, which was on the south end of the city. And upon graduation, went to Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania, which is about 60 miles north of Pittsburgh. They call it the Rock. And got my degree in health and physical education.
What years were you there?
I graduated with my undergraduate degree in '86. And then I decided as I went through that process that I enjoyed what I was doing, but I felt like I didn't want to be a teacher in the schools. I felt like I was gravitating to the sciences. Not that I didn't enjoy that, but I started to gravitate more to the sciences of activity and exercise and sport. Mm-hmm. So I was offered the opportunity to stick around and do my master's degree on an assistantship for 1986-87. So I went to Slippery Rock for my exercise science degree. And then I left Pittsburgh, and I graduated from Slippery Rock, and I took a job in a small YMCA about an hour south of Pittsburgh called the Uniontown YMCA, and I was the first health and fitness director. I was there for about 15 months before I got a great academic opportunity to go to a small school, the University of Nebraska at Kearney is what it is now, which is about 2 hours west of Lincoln. And spent about 3 years there and realized with my master's degree, even though we were doing great research and really enjoying it, that to do what I wanted to do, I probably needed my doctorate. Yeah. And I was given the opportunity to come back to Pittsburgh and get my degree from the University of Pittsburgh. And like I said, stay on the faculty for a few years. Left there, went to the University of Kansas, went to Brown University in Providence, and then got the opportunity to go back home, and I've been there for a while. And just personally, I was always a sports person too. Baseball was my game, but I played them all, but baseball was my game. And my little claim to fame is that my sophomore year in college, I didn't play ball in college, but I was invited to spring camp with the Pirates in 1983. And it was like a 2-week camp where they kind of gave you a pre-tryout. I'm sitting here today, which means I wasn't quite good enough.
I went to one of those myself.
Yeah, but it was a really exciting time, and it really said, hey, I got to live that dream that most don't, and it's time to kind of move on with my profession. So the rest is history.
Well, I went to Lock Haven.
There you go. So you know what I'm talking about.
I was accepted at Slippery Rock, Westchester, and Lock Haven. I wanted to be a PE teacher and a baseball coach.
There you go.
So went to a Pirate training camp.
There you go. Same story.
So I wanted to be Bill Mazeroski.
I know I was a little younger at that time, but I know who Maz was. Of course, we all know who Maz
Exactly.
was. And then the name Wally Rose must mean something to you. He was the Slippery Rock coach at that time.
I knew all those people.
Yeah, great memories.
So in that journey, do you remember where you heard about ACSM first?
Yeah, I do remember. As I was going through the Slippery Rock program, I started to hear about ACSM, and around the summer of 84, 85, when I was taking my exercise physiology courses, and it started to come up and get mentioned. And actually, you think back then, ACSM was still a little bit in its infancy. It was, a pretty young organization at that point. Yeah. So, it caught my interest. And it really caught my interest. In 1987, I got a chance to go to the Physical Education Conference. And it just
the AFER?
That was the AFER meeting at that time. Yeah. And everybody was saying, well, are you coming to the ACSM meeting? I'm like, oh, what's this all about? And then I got my first taste of ACSM. I was given the chance once I got to Nebraska in the spring of 1989. I'll never forget it. I got a chance to go to the ACSM meeting in Baltimore. And it was extremely impactful for me to go and just see this great science. It was exciting. And I had one of those moments at the same time that said, you need to stay involved with this group. And it wasn't necessarily the organization at that moment, it was the people. And I had a Jack Wilmore moment that I think is really important. And that was, I was in a free communication slide session, and Jack Wilmore was part of that. And so you can imagine that the place was packed. Yeah. And I gave and I was introduced to Jack a little bit ahead of that, and he spoke ahead of me. And he said, hey, you're going to do fine, because I was really nervous, as you can imagine. First, I'm following Jack Wilmore, and second, this is my first time presenting at a conference. And Jack was so gracious. At the end of his talk, he said, before I leave the stage, I want to let you all know that this next guy is coming up. It's his first talk. And I've looked at his abstract. I've looked at what he's going to talk about, and I think it's just great.
Wow.
And I got up and gave my talk, and I, of course, fumbled the ball many times. And I'm like, they're going to just eat me alive. And I looked up in the audience when they opened for questions, and there's Jack standing at the microphone saying, boy, that was just wonderful. And I want everybody in the room to know how wonderful I thought that was.
That's
and
great.
The questions were pretty generic at that point in time. So from that time on, I was like, boy, Jack Wilmore was an inspiration to me.
Yeah, with his sponsorship, you couldn't go wrong.
Couldn't go wrong. And then Jack reached out to me many times after that and just said, hey, I like your research. I like that. And it was just a moment that Jack probably never remembered, but it made a big impact on me.
Yeah, a lot of the people I've talked to over the years have referred to the ACSM family. Yeah. That it really feels like it, and everyone's so welcoming.
Yes. And I think that that's part of the strength of the organization, is that, and I think it comes out of the physical education, exercise kind of people that we have, that it's a very open and friendly, organization, and that meant a lot then, and I try to pass that on now to the younger folks as well.
Yeah, that's nice. That actually was going to follow up with that. I'm sure you're sending some of your own students this way.
Yeah,
So,
it's intriguing to me, and it didn't hit me until around this meeting here in 2016. Every year we've been sending our students to the meeting and having them submit abstracts and present. And this year we probably have 6 or 7 of them presenting, and another 3 or 4 here.
wow.
Kind of coming through the works, and every year we seem to have that. And then I'm walking around and I'm seeing that there's the past students who are now serving on committees for
They're still
ACSM.
here
And yeah, they're chairing sessions, they're presenting their own research. And so it's kind of like we must have done something to help to groom them and pass along that kind of ACSM culture.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So many people over the years I've talked to come out of that physical education background that you've mentioned. And there is something, looking back now, that's pretty unique about that. There's sort of a different type of mindset or something.
Yeah, and I don't know what I don't know what it was, but I do know that I was thinking, boy, I want to just do more than teach children to skip. Not that that's not important, but I want to do more than that. And it hit me as I heard my scientist that, boy, this really applies to health-related factors. And at the time, my grandfather and others in the family had diabetes. And I remember giving a presentation in my master's classes talking about how physical activity really is an important component of diabetes control. So it's like, I think it came to that, like, boy, we can do more with this than just teach basketball or something. We can do more and touch more people.
Yeah, yeah. Could you tell us more about your current situation again? And I forgot what was it, an institute?
Yeah, so I direct a center,
center.
the Physical Activity and Weight Management Research Center.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll have an institute. That's kind of the next layer. We'll have an institute soon.
I was jumping ahead there.
Yeah, no, well, it's in the works. It's in the works. And that entity at the University of Pittsburgh, I formed that when I started in this current role in 2002. And it was, me, myself, and I back when it all started. And we now have there's including myself, about 7 faculty who are part of that center. Wow. And all of them have funding at different levels and in different ways. But they're a diverse group of faculty who do things from sedentary behavior to sleep, to technology-based interventions, to alternative things like yoga, to very behavioral programs that include things like mindfulness and standard behavioral types of interventions.
Very exciting.
So we have a really well-rounded team of people that then support students and support this research. And we've done a lot of impactful things. We have a number of papers published in really good journals, a number of grants funded through the NIH and others at this point in time. And I personally have had continuous NIH funding since 1996. Wow. So that's, I take a lot of pride in that.
I was going to say, there's not a lot of people that can say that.
No, and it's been pretty good funding. So it tells me that we're on that,
fantastic.
Constantly trying to push the envelope and stay on the kind of edge of where we need to be. And because of that, I've had the fortunate opportunity to be involved in position papers and government committees that are writing guidelines and those things. And so but it's part of the culture that we came through about evidence-based work and show me the evidence and then how do you apply it. And so we try to use that avenue at the University of Pittsburgh to cut across these department and school lines, which we're very successful at, to make sure that individuals in the medical school, individuals in the nursing school, individuals in psychology and psychiatry and dietetics understand that physical activity is a really important behavior across all of those entities, and I think that they're buying it.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of your department.
Health and physical activity.
Okay, so do you have a group of students like you and I were at one time as undergrads there?
We do have an undergraduate program. We do not have a physical education undergraduate program anymore, but we have an undergraduate exercise science program.
Oh, okay.
And then we have a series of minors that students from other disciplines can come in and get a minor. And this year we're actually implementing a brand new minor that's called exercise science, so that a student in another discipline can come in and at least get the background. And we get a lot of students that come to us from nursing or nutritional sciences or something, that this makes a lot of sense. And so what's really been really nice for me is I have this group of faculty who have been very interested in how do we take the student from more than just I'm going to learn it from the book, and really make it an applied situation. And so we've really implemented a curriculum that allows for that. A lot of hands-on learning, which is a little different than where a lot of institutions have gone with the online stuff. Ours is on hands-on, not online, and I think that makes a big difference. And so we have a lot of pride because some of those students who we now see as Ph.D. students, we also had as an undergraduate student. So we've seen them morph into these young professionals that they're becoming. That's very exciting to us.
Are these students coming more locally, or are you seeing them from other parts of the state or the Northeast? Or?
We see them from all over. A number of them, 25 years ago, the University of Pittsburgh was probably a very regional university.
Yeah.
It's now a national and international university. And many of our students, we have this core mission of making sure we're serving the residents of the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the southwestern Pennsylvania region in particular. But we have students that are coming from all states. We have international students, and we're taking some postdocs and the like. So it's a very diverse group of individuals, which is a lot of fun and very exciting because it gives us a completely different perspective than what we would have had if we kind of lived in our own little bubble.
Do you have time to teach anything yourself anymore, or?
I don't have time to teach, but I do teach.
I guess that's a perfect answer.
Yeah, I do, and in some ways, I think that's really important that faculty who are at the rank of professor or are leaders in the field actually go in and interact with the undergraduate and graduate students. So I try to take a lot of pride in making sure that I teach my load, and I do. And I teach not quite as much, but pretty close to as much as everybody else in the department, as well as do all the other things. And I think that that's just an important, one, example to show that we can do that. And two, I think I have a lot to offer the students, good and bad experiences that I can share, and that's a good venue for me to be able to do that. So I enjoy it.
In the remaining time, it's moving right along.
Sure.
I warned you.
It does.
What about going back now to some of these roles you're in now with the college currently? Where do you see those things going? I mean, the obesity thing is
it touches
huge.
all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's central to healthcare.
It is. I mean, the Obesity Initiative is probably the thing that is, from my perspective, the thing where I need to make sure I'm spending my time, because we can all get spread thin and involved in every committee possible, and that's an interesting evolution to where we are today. And it was around the mid 2000s, probably 2004, 2005, where I remember meeting with Jim Whitehead at the Health and Fitness Summit in Reno, Nevada, and lobbied for him to help us to put obesity on the ACSM map. And at that point, we kind of started doing some things behind the scenes, created an ad hoc committee at that point that kind of hung around as an ad hoc committee for a long time. And it was only about a year or two ago that we were elevated to, we had like a task force. Then we were elevated to now what's called a strategic health initiative, which gives it a certain level of status within the college, which I think is really important. And we've been able to leverage that to create what we had this year, the Energy Balance World Congress. We've been able to really get on the program. We've been able to elevate it within the journals of the college, and we have more work to do. And what's really nice is that now there's a portfolio of things that we can actually talk about when we talk to NIH and talk to other entities around how ACSM fits into that broader picture of health. And so it's been a lot of work, a long journey, but I think we're now at the point where ACSM has things that they can talk about that we're very proud of.
Yeah. And did you see the Attorney General talk?
I missed the Attorney General because of another committee meeting.
He was very impressive, and
yes,
I mean everything he said would support exactly what you're doing, and as well as some of the other initiatives.
And it tells us that the college is probably on the right track.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge, but the beauty of the ACSM is the diversity that it has in terms of the areas of interest. But at the end of the day, I think if there is a common thread, and that common thread comes back to the individual, and I'll use the word performance, even though I don't necessarily mean it in a competition way, performing in a manner that is optimal for them, whether it be from a sports perspective or a health perspective. It comes back to that common thread. And so that's what is always exciting to me. So I'll go to a session here at the annual meeting on powerlifting or how do you increase muscular strength, just for the sake of understanding it, but then go to one that says, how do we touch rural America in terms of getting them active? And I think that's the beauty of the college.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, and again, a lot of other, maybe I mentioned this to you earlier, is that a lot of people see it as one big family.
Mm-hmm.
Their friends are here, and
it's
look forward to it every year.
Well, you probably, have this happen, and I know I have it. Sometimes the only time you'll ever see those people is at this meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
But when you see them after a handshake or an embrace, it's like you were just there yesterday. And these people have become more than professional colleagues. They become friends. You get to know them and their families and their kids, and you've kind of grown up together. And so they're the friends away from the friends you have at home, and that makes it special.
Yeah, I know a lot of them, including Wilmore, used to go on vacations with families that that they knew, or visit each other, and
that's exactly right,
during the summers and all that. And
it is one big happy family, and there's a lot going on, and so as with any family, you kind of all have to buck for your turf and position, but those are all friendly positionings, and at the end of the day, everybody comes collectively together to move the organization forward in a way that's best for everyone. And I think that that's, again, one of the strengths of this organization.
Yeah. Well, John, I told you.
It goes fast.
It goes really fast.
Yeah, so that was quick.
So thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today. I'm
Nice
glad we were
meeting
able to
you.
squeeze it in here.